Namaste and welcome to Pragna Bharati. I am Dheeraj. Today we are going to discuss about the FCRA regulation rules which were recently notified by the Ministry of Home Affairs and also the upcoming amendment FCRA amendment bill that is going to be introduced in the parliament. So today I am joined with me Sri Harsha in conversation with Sri Patikrit Pain. He is a senior journalist with around spanning 2 decades of experience, and he's also a geopolitical analyst and also in international relations. So he's also a senior research fellow in Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Research Foundation. So we'll be discussing about these aspects with him in detail. So thank you for being with us, Patikrit ji.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. So let's start with the questions you have, then we'll try to answer each one of this. But let me give a small background to it. Foreign Contribution Regulation Act was first enacted in the 1970s, primarily in 1976. But इसके बारे में 1950s में there was a Yogi committee which actually gave some, actually red flagged the whole issue of foreign contributions. जो आ तो रहा था in the name of charity, but they were used for various different purposes, including conversions. And post 1971 war with Pakistan, उसके बाद the way India moved towards socialism, it was coming far more closer to USSR, and there was a certain kind of distance that was there between United States and India. So US was very wary about what was happening, and there were attempts of interfering in the political affairs of India. So that's the reason in 1976, the Foreign Contribution Regulations Act was enacted. But what was done that time was primarily keeping in mind to ensure one particular political party remains in power, and so that nobody else gets any kind of support system to challenge that entity. However, if you look at what is happening today, why the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act has become a very big bone of contention is because over the last 2-3 decades we have witnessed how foreign funds are being used as a tool to create disinformation within countries, as a tool to create anarchy within countries, as a tool to cultivate fault lines within countries, and perhaps in a way to even fund organizations which are totally against the very core ethos and constitution and sovereignty of India. There was a very recent instance where a particular organization, some Timothy Trust or Timothy Initiative, that organization was found distributing hundreds of crores among people in Naxal affected regions. Now, that is very challenging. Why would somebody spend almost 100 crore and distribute that even through foreign debit cards? It was being done to bypass the scrutiny. Similarly, in this country, in the name of charity, in the name of building schools, in the name of building colleges, in the name of building hospitals, money comes in, but there is a caveat attached that you get benefits from those schools and hospitals only if you convert. So there is a sinister objective of creating conversions in this country, making a substantial number of the population of India turn them against the Sanatan, turn them against India's own civilizational heritage, and then use those fault lines to create animosity and possibly anarchy and civil war situations. So that is why it is important to have some kind of further regulation as to whether, first of all, we require foreign contributions in India or not. Two things have to be remembered, that in today's era, or probably in the last few decades, non-governmental organizations, even though some of them do good work, but in many ways, the non-governmental organizations have become a tool in the hands of foreign agencies and in the hand of foreign entities to not just launder money, but to what you can call idea laundering and agenda laundering. What they cannot accomplish through conventional war, what they cannot accomplish through insurgency, they try to accomplish that by changing narratives within the countries. They try to do that by trying to dismantle a democratically elected government in this country. We have seen what happened in case of Bangladesh. or what happened in case of Nepal, or what happened during the whole of Arab Spring, where money came from outside to create ruckus. Now, there is absolutely nothing wrong in protesting against the government. You have every right to do that. And you have every right to vote against the government. But if orchestrated, steered, and controlled, remote control from abroad, if all of this is being done by foreign money with a sinister agenda to weaken India from inside, then there's a problem. And fundamental question is this: that in today's era, when India is almost a $4.5 trillion economy, when in India every year the central government and all the state governments combined spend lakhs of crores on welfare on the people of the country, do we actually require those 15,000 to 20,000 crore that comes from abroad in the name of foreign contribution? We don't need that money. And if that money is coming, even when most of the developmental work are being done by the government of India, even when we are a net donor globally to multilateral institutions, even when we are the first respondent to major natural calamities of the world, even when we actually donate food grains to countries in problem, when we donate vaccines in hundreds of thousands to countries in problem, when why do we require that funding from the NGOs, and where is that funding going? Is that funding going for something substantive, or is that funding is going to arm the Maoist, to create anti-national elements, to fund them, to create hatred amongst communities? So this is the problem, and that is why two things have been done. Number one, the FCRA 2.0 notification has been brought in. There's a portal that has been started by the Honorable Home Minister through the Union Home Ministry. There's a cloud infrastructure called the Meghraj. And in that, it has been clearly mentioned that there are probably 100 or 105 activities that can be done through foreign contributions, which can be about cultural things, or which can be about propagating a religion or religious practices. But what has been completely banned and have been said that this is not allowed is conversion through foreign funding. So certain organizations are very unhappy that this has been done. Now, why are they unhappy? Well, that's a very big question, but the answer also that they had been doing all kinds of sinister activities in the name of charity. So that is why they are unhappy. Secondly, the Foreign Contributions Regulation Act Amendment Bill that was introduced in the last session of the Parliament, previous session, that could not be passed, and I think this time it will be taken up. The Foreign Contributions Regulations Act Amendment this time is making it very clear that if a particular organization gets involved in activities which are not permitted, and if their FCRA license is cancelled, then there's a strong possibility that their assets will be seized. So this is the short story of the long version. Last but not the least, whatever regulations are being brought in, are they unique to India? No. There are many countries in the world, in fact, most developed countries of the world, they have very stringent norms when it comes to foreign funding. In US, it's called FARA, FARA. And you have to register yourself, and every entity is kept under stringent scrutiny when you bring foreign funds for any kind of activities within the country. So what India is doing is not something unique. It is something, you may say, we are only following the global best practices. If your intentions are good, you should not be scared. But if your intentions are not good, then you would be a little worried, because there is an ecosystem that has flourished in this country through foreign funds, part of which they spend on themselves for their own luxury, and the remaining part they use for all kinds of nefarious activities, which are not conducive to social, economic, and regional sanity of the country. So this is why it has become very, very critical now that FCRA amendments are brought in.
Rightly, one small doubt, since you have mentioned the left-wing extremism and the Timothy initiative, it has been already established the nexus between Maoists and all the missionary activities are long back. So before bringing this FCRA, did the government do any kind of groundwork? I mean, did they think after eliminating the left-wing extremism, especially Maoism, did they think this is the right time to bring? Because I think before I hand it over to you, I just want to club two questions, G. Can you please explain the nexus between this Maoists, particularly, and the left-wing extremism? Because in Santal Pargana and in various areas like this, especially in Jharkhand, in Chhattisgarh, we are seeing how tribals were being converted, and the demography seeing a very substantial change, and it is almost I mean, the illegal immigrants and all these people actually they are changing the course of the elections. So will FCRA, can the new amendments that are being brought in, can they regulate any such kind of thing with this illegal immigrants and all this funding? Number one. Number two, the most important region in our country, in my opinion, currently is the Northeast, especially with the kind of things that are happening in Manipur with Matthew Van Dyke and all the activities. The missionary activities over there, it is very well known to everyone. During Nagaland elections, certain missionary churches, they openly announced that no Christian should vote for one particular party, national party that is there in the power. So, I mean, do the government have any kind of substantial proof that these churches that are issuing that kind of sermons are getting any kind of funds? And if they do, is the government having the enough clout to ban? Because if any church or any organizations such as this are touched, are we ready to face the wrath of all these anti-national elements in the nation?
Well, we had similar doubts in the mind when Article 370 was being abrogated. A lot of countries, a lot of people thought, what if we do it? What happens then? There will be ruckus. We will not be able to handle it. But it happened. When demonetization happened, a lot of people had thought, oh my God, this will ruin the economy. It did not ruin the economy. It actually formalized the economy. And one of the reasons why Maoists were on the back foot was because of demonetization, because thousands of crores, it is alleged, that they have kept underground in hard currency. Suddenly that money got useless. Similarly, when India went for Operation Sindoor or the Balakot airstrike, there were similar apprehensions that what if Pakistan does a nuclear strike? What if the West imposes sanctions? Well, we went ahead and did it, and then eventually whatever was necessary, it was done, and diplomatically India made it very clear that our objective is not to wage into a war with Pakistan, but we are only targeting the non-state actors. So whatever was necessary to be done, including what was done in Kairana, which is considered to be in a way, as it is said, the nerve center of Pakistan's nuclear command and control system, that was whatever was needed to be done was done to them. Similarly, it was presumed that if we don't get into a trade deal with the Americans will impose sanctions. It will destroy our economy. The Americans actually put 50% tariff on us. It did not ruin the Indian economy. On the contrary, we diversified the economy so much that the same person who called India a dead economy, that is Mr. Donald Trump, eventually had to say that India is a lovely country and he is a great friend of the Prime Minister. So I think, number one, there is absolutely no doubt the government has done its homework. Number two, if you need to do your whatever is necessary with a firm hand. India has never said that we do not want a trade deal with US. India has never said that we are against US, but we have only said that we respect your concerns and you have to respect our concerns. When it comes to the Maoist issue, in the Maoist regions, two kinds of entities never faced any problems. When common people were killed in large numbers, they were beheaded, they were killed indiscriminately. When security forces faced a lot of threats, the non-governmental organizations of certain types never faced any problem going to them, including the likes of Arundhati Rai, who used to call the Maoists, the most brutal Maoists who are designated as terror banned organizations in India. She called them Gandhians with guns. Secondly, the missionaries never faced any trouble in the hands of the Maoists. The missionaries always had a free hand in the Maoist regions. Now, why is it that the missionaries were never targeted? What is the nexus? And that is perhaps where the investigation started. That the Maoists who used to call themselves atheists had no problem if the tribal community is converted. And that is where the investigation started, and it was found what kind of fund was coming in. So while dealing with the Naxal problem in the jungle regions of India, in the hinterland of India, one of the first things that government of India or the Union Home Ministry did was to choke off the fund flow to the Maoists. There were two things that was done: the choking of the fund flow, and number two, choking of the flow of explosives, the industrial explosives that was siphoned off from industrial activities to reach the Maoists, so that they can make the IED bombs, improvised explosive devices. So whatever actions are being taken, you would see that there's a lot of homework behind it. And very interestingly, mainstream Muslim organizations like the All India Muslim Personal Law Board, as of yet, has not given any statement against this. Similarly, many mainstream Christian organizations have not opposed FCRA. FCRA does not prevent you from bringing in money, but FCRA amendments, proposed amendments, prevents you from using the money for any kind of activity to convert people. FCRA amendment makes it very clear that whatever you say or you declare that this is my activity, you have to do only that, nothing more than that. FCRA amendments also make it very clear, including the notifications, that number one, you have to clearly declare who are your donors. You have to mention what is your social media site. So I think what amendments are being proposed, they are only meant for creating transparency. And I think even the mainstream, some of the bigger organizations, the Christian organizations, they are not against it. The problem is with the missionaries. So you had a question about Northeast. Look, what has been done in the past, you cannot suddenly change it. What has been converted has been converted. And they are our own people, so you cannot disown them. In fact, the Northeast also has a lot of contribution towards India. A large number of people of Northeast are in the armed forces. They sacrifice their lives on a daily basis. Government is not making any rule which is against the Christians or the Muslims. It is not a rule against Christians or Muslims. First of all, the rule equally applies to all organizations. If it applies to a Christian missionary organization, then it also applies to any organization which is maybe connected or to any right-wing entity. There is no two rule that one is for RSS affiliated organization and the other for the missionary organization. It is not so. The government is very clear. The law is same for everyone. That has to be kept in mind, right? Now, what is happening if you do talk about that Van Dyke issue? When in the name of missionary work, when special forces veterans are sent in to give arms training, that is not acceptable. And whatever necessary has to be done, will be done. And I think if this government was to be under pressure, then they would have released Matthew Van Dyke. They did not release him. And I think he's being given very nice treatment, I've heard.
Yeah. He was presented yesterday at the court.
Yeah, so these elements have been going in various countries, creating mayhem, ruckus, funding and arming people to fight against their own government. Would US allow it to happen in their own soil? They will not. Does the UN Charter prescribe this? No. So I think what is important is, number one, this is not an amendment against the Christians. This is not an amendment against the Muslims. This is an amendment about a transparency. And this is equally applicable for all kinds of organizations, whether it's a Christian organization or a Muslim organization or a Hindu organization. It does not have any exemption. Number two, we witnessed the mainstream organizations, even within the Muslim community, have not opposed it. It is many others who are accused and alleged to get funds for evangelical activities. Some of them are making noise, but those noise are primarily through rhetorics that this is draconian, this is anti-minority. However, if you ask them that which specific part of the entire law is anti-minority, please tell us. They will not be able to say that. And if you ask them which specific provision of this law is different from what the Russians, the Americans, the British, the Australians, and many others have created for their own regulations while dealing with foreign contribution, if you ask them, they will not be able to. So that is why I think you will find a lot of noise. It is very similar to that cockroach Janata Party and their protest. On social media, it appeared as if 30 lakh people are behind them. Right now, you don't even see 30 people behind them. So there is a difference between what is created in terms of hype and what the reality is. If you want to create a hospital for humanity work, most welcome. But if you put a condition that you will get the hospital treatment only if you convert, then that is an illegal activity, not just in India, but anywhere in the world. And therefore, I think India, as a sovereign country, has the legitimate right to correct some of the wrongs that are there in the provisions. Not wrongs, but I would say some of the liberty that was given were given in good faith. I think it has been misused. And therefore, I think it's very important now. What is being done is to make the things far more stringent. And I think eventually it will also pass the test of scrutiny of law also. Uh, you know, when SIR was being conducted, it was presumed there will be riots. It was presumed that there will be civil war. Has anything happened? Nothing has happened. So it went to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has been very clear that it is being done in the right manner. So similarly for this, if anybody has an issue, they can go to the court.
Right, sir. So amendment of rules and the upcoming amendment bill, so they've struck the right target that we can say, that is excluding the evangelical activities and also proselytization. But we've also seen that there have been calls from global, United States congressmen and few other organizations within the United States, other churches, that this is actually stifling their activities, their religious freedom, and also there also have been call for intervention. I think already U.S. Secretary Marco Rubio has been to the missionaries of charities. So how do you think this will pan out? And the fear mongering that their assets will be, all the churches will be confiscated, all the churches will be closed down. These kinds of fear mongering are being spread out. So how do you think, what would be the reaction further?
I think there were a lot of misinformation that has been spread. No church is being confiscated. Nothing of that sort is being done. The rules are very clear. The government is not taking over anything. So one has to go through the rules first. Secondly, US in P Guru's, Mr. Sri Iyer said something very interesting. He said, don't give you too much importance to American senators protesting. Each of them is perhaps being given $5,000 to protest because lobbying is allowed in US. So don't read too much into this. I think the Americans will have to keep one thing in mind. For them, is that $1 billion important that they send for all kinds of nefarious activities? Or is it that India's $4 trillion economy is more important for them? That is a choice they have to make. They do, I mean, does the law say that the Christians cannot pray from tomorrow? Certainly not. In fact, every year the Christmas will be celebrated as much as it used to be celebrated. And in no other country, non-Christians celebrate Christmas as it happens in case of India, where large number of Hindus, share cakes on the day of Christmas. And we have never had any problem wishing each other Merry Christmas on the day of 25th December. So the fear mongering is the same kind of fear mongering that was created during anti-CAA protest. That CAA will lead to disenfranchising of the minorities. Has it happened? It has not happened. And then life went on as usual. Nothing happened. So I don't give too much credence to those statements from US. It has a habit. They started these cases against Gautam Adani because Adanis play a very critical role to the Indian economy. They are building major transshipment ports, which are going to be very critical for India's future. And now they have withdrawn the same cases against Adanis. The same America has withdrawn. They created an entity called Hindenburg, a short seller, to create all kind of dubious reports. Now, after Joe Biden lost the election, Hindenburg vanished. So I don't give, see, there will be certain kind of protest and this and that. But I think our government is strong enough to deal with that. I think we have had enough of not doing the right thing for fear of what the West will do or what the West will say. Let them do and let them say whatever they want. India will do what is good for India. And I reiterate, it is a secular country. Every Christian, every Muslim, every other community has as much right to pray and propagate the good things about their religions as the Sanatanis and Hindus have. The law does not prevent that. But if you have to promote your religion, why do you need foreign funding for that? And if you need foreign funding to propagate your religion, You can set up a church. Why do you need to convert people? Why can't you say that, look, please respect Krishna and Christ together? Why can't they say that? We do exactly the same thing, right? Has any Hindu or Sanatani religious leader ever said that just because you worship Krishna or Shiva, do not respect Christ? Has anyone said that? No, I don't think anybody has said that. Because as a Sanatani, I myself believe I am a devout follower of Krishna. I'm a devout follower of Lord Shiva. I'm a worshipper of Durga. And I still believe that Jesus Christ was a divine soul. I have no problem in believing that. And I never try to convert anyone. I would always say respect Christ and at the same time learn about Krishna as well. So what's the problem? Those who try to create a binary, convert this side and start hitting the other side, we have a problem with them. So I think by and large, once the bill is passed, you will see everything will settle down. No problem will happen. Back to you.
G, since you mentioned about SIR, when the SIR was court was hearing about SIR arguments, one particular organization from our nation, CSDS, the one few people from CSDS, they actually spread misinformation. It was actually called out, and the irony of this is that CSDS it was receiving funds, foreign funds from Open Society. At the same time, even Ministry of Education was giving funds to CSDS. So, how is the government planning to address? I mean, apart from seeing what who are receiving funds and what who are getting funds and what are they doing with that, is the government planning, to see whom they are funding? Because even I think even that is also a very important issue because when the CSDS report came out, so many people tried to project that as if whatever you said, something violent thing was going to happen, people rights were being snatched, etc., etc.
I think this is a very important issue that you have raised. And that is why very recently, when Prime Minister Modi had a meeting with the secretaries, all the top secretaries of the country, what comes out of that meeting, though we are not private to the conversation, but whatever message came out in the open source is that he has asked the ministries to stop working in silos, which means you need to have a whole of government approach. I still believe that even when the political leadership is very clear about what is to be done, sometimes some nuisance and certain things maybe inadvertently, without intention, is being done by certain elements, or maybe certain section of the officials deliberately do that. That is where there's a problem, and I think that the government needs to have an oversight about each ministry and who you are giving funds for. If anyone is under scrutiny for receiving dubious funds from abroad, then you cannot just fund or use that organization for any governmental activities. However, on the flip side, what happens is that interestingly, these organizations then they can then go to the court or use the legal pretext that is it banned to take fund from abroad? No, it is not banned. Is it banned to oppose any government move? No, it is not banned. Then how can you exclude us from any kind of government funding? That is the pretext they often use to bypass sideline restrictions and take advantage. And that's where I think somewhere the bureaucratic accountability today is far more important or as important as the ministerial accountability. We talk about ministerial accountability, but in most cases it is the bureaucracy which takes forward the cases, right? So it is so once the FCRA bill comes in, then I think the issue that you have raised will get addressed. And probably that's the reason that it is being brought in. Otherwise, all these activities before this would not have been called illegal. We know that it is immoral. It is immoral. What they were doing was immoral, but legally it was not said to be illegal. So that is why this bill was important. I think after that, you might see many organizations. In fact, many of the organizations in the past have also faced the acts because of taking foreign funds and doing things which are inimical to the society. For example, if you just give me a minute, if you see organizations like Greenpeace, they got shut down in India, because they were told to operate or reveal what they were doing. Organizations like Amnesty International, they packed up their bags. If I'm not mistaken, some other organizations have already been put the acts on. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Center for Policy Research, CPR, Am I right? CPR was one organization that faced something. So more than around 22,000 NGOs have their FCRA license cancelled, and many of them actually had to shut their shop once the license was cancelled because they had no revenue model for any activity within the country. They were only doing things with foreign funds. That means somebody had set them up to do certain activities in India, and once the action was taken, so they literally vanished. And let me just give you a data. In from 2011 to 2026, Tamil Nadu had 2,580 FCRA license cancelled. Andhra Pradesh more than 2,000. Maharashtra 2,000. Uttar Pradesh 1,800. West Bengal 1,700. And other states almost 11,600. Total 21,900. 33 licenses have been shut down, cancelled. And right now you have the revised figure is 22,273 registrations cancelled. 15,000 license expired, but they did not renew the FCRA license. That means they knew they are already under scrutiny. Total removed registrations, cancellations, total is 37,455. And interestingly, India has one of the largest number of NGOs per 100% in the world. Why do you have so many NGOs in India? It has become kind of a profession where, and most of them actually receive funds. So these are being done, as you asked whether there is a study behind it. Yes, there is a study behind it. And since there are studies behind it, so they could find out the pattern as to how it is happening. Conversion in India will stop if the money allurement stops. Money allurement stops when the funding from abroad stops. And that is why this regulation was important. So if you look at Center for Policy Research, Oxfam, NewsClick, CNI, Synodical Board of Social Service, Voluntary Health Association of India, Indo-Global Social Service Society, Church Auxiliary for Social Action, Evangelical Fellowship of India, World Vision India, Greenpeace India, they have all faced the acts under the FCRA rules. Ford Foundation India is under the watch list, and we all know what Ford Foundation does, right? So yes, please understand, we cannot allow external interference in internal affairs of India. No one stops a Hindu from converting to Christianity and vice versa. I would rather say one should follow the good part of both religions. But if you do that with foreign funding, then there's a problem. Okay. And that's where it is today. Yes, this government, under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi and tremendous amount of hard work by the Union Home Minister, Shri Amit Shah ji, a lot of things which previous government were not doing are being done, keeping in mind the objective of Viksit Bharat 2047. So the West will not make the life easy for you. There will be roadblocks, but you have to cross them. Last but not the least, there are countries in the world who want India to be externally stable but internally in chaos. Now, those who want India to be internally in chaos and eternally in chaos, that needs to be addressed. And that's why this FCRA regulation amendment was necessary. Back to you.
I want to club these two questions, Ji, because you mentioned Home Minister Amit Shah Ji's efforts and at the same time all the Western interference. You have also said what Sri Iyer ji said. But if we look at Marco Rubio's actions and statements, there is one word called Western hypocrisy. It is a very best example of that. When he came to India, he directly went to missionaries of charity. We can say it is his faith, he can go, but he should have gone to church if it was his faith. Because when Joe Biden came for a G20 summit, he went to a church in Delhi. But Marco Rubio did not go to any church. He went to missionaries of charity. Did he give any kind of message with that? And the number and add on to that is Marco Rubio. He recently went to one African nation. I apologize, I don't exactly remember the name of that nation, but during the presser, he directly said US will not fund any kind of NGOs in any government, in any country. If we have to do any work, we will fund the governments instead of NGOs. We'll give our money, whatever we want to give, to the governments. But don't you see whatever they are saying and whatever they are doing, especially with India, there is a stark difference. Number one. And number two, this is my final question, Ji. Regarding Amit Shah Ji's efforts, we all know the tremendous work he's been doing. And the latest add-on to that is the demography committee that he has constituted. Two very important points on the tweet that he posted on that day that caught my attention was number one, he specifically mentioned tribals in that tweet. I mean, we have already discussed how tribals are being converted. So when this tweet he posted around this time, I think one day before or after, he attended one tribal summit where he openly said about the efforts that are being made, to develop to give the good livelihood to tribals. So, is there any kind of link that the government is trying to make that tribals are being converted and an attempt is being made to disassociate tribals from Sanatan?
So Marco Rubio definitely wanted to give a message, no doubt about that. But I think India knows what is to be done. I mean, Marco Rubio can go wherever it wants. We know what missionaries of charity is all about. And I think where India remains firm, US will try to change its course. I will not be surprised if these organizations like USICRF, United States Commission for International Religious Freedom, have misinformed the likes of Marco Rubio about what actually the FCRA rules are all about. Missionaries of charity is also their FCRA license are due for renewal in the recent future. So they were trying to send out a message. I think India will deal with it wherever it's necessary. Look, there is no doubt that attempts are being made to convert the tribals, and it has been done for so many years, so many decades, almost for a century. We have to keep in mind the fault line cultivation. 1857, the whole of India fought against the British. By 1947, in less than 90 years, in less than 100 years rather, we forgot what happened in the British mutiny and we started fighting on caste. We started fighting on religion. We started fighting on region. We started fighting on language. We were obsessed with having language based division of states. So the entire orientation changed from hating the British, and the entire orientation went towards hating the Hindus in the name of upper caste, where we forgot, and all kinds of stories were put up with a specific kind of narrative, including the story of Eklavya, where it was projected as if that Eklavya was a poor person from a lower caste who was being deprived and denied teachings by Dronacharya, who, as per those narratives, was an upper caste, whereas Eklavya was not a poor person. Eklavya's father was the king of the Nishad community, and his father was the ally of Jarasandha. Jarasandha was an arch rival of Krishna. So there are a lot of these narratives were put that South is Dravidian, North is Aryan. There is no race called Aryan. There is no race. The Aryans are not invaders of India. It was also being projected as if Ravan was a Dravidian, which is false. It was projected Ravan was a Dravidian and Ram was an Aryan. Ravan's origin is from Meerut. And Ravan was the original, the person he was an extremely learned person who wrote the Shiv Stotram. Ravan was not killed for his caste or whatever ethnicity. He was killed for his arrogance. He had to be defeated for his arrogance. But he was an extremely learned person in front of whom even Ram said to Lakshman that as Ravan is dying, please go and try to have some words of wisdom from him. These narratives have been built for a long time. There is no denial that the tribals have been converted in large numbers, but we must also acknowledge the work that has been done by Sangh in reviving the tribals. The tribals are an integral part of Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma is incomplete without the tribal. In fact, the whole essence of tribal, all of us are tribes. I think the way the British actually tried to project the tribals as if they are Adivasis and we are the invaders. We all are Adivasis. My ancestors were not invaders. They were Mool Nivasis of this place. We all are Adivasis. So a lot of construct of that time has to be deconstructed, and it has a lot to do with what we teach in the universities. That there are a lot of change has to come in. Tribals, I think, they have converted, but those who have converted, many have reconverted back to Sanatan, and at the same time, those who have converted, I am not against them. I am not against them, and I think the country is not against them. They are as much part of India as we are. But I think what is being told to them is that even if you have converted your religion, do not forget your core culture. Do not forget the culture of your ancestors. Delineation of a society from its own culture, ethos, civilization through conversion is very dangerous. So I think, for this government or the ideology behind it, the objective is not to pit Sanatan against others, not at all. Even if you convert, we believe in the concept of Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti, that we believe, there is one truth and there are many paths to reach that truth. But the problem is when conversion is done to cut off a segment of the society from its roots, then it's a real issue. And that is what they are working on. So we have problems, and I think in the last 10 years, a lot of those problems have been addressed. There was a time 180 districts were affected by Naxalism. Today it has come down to less than 5. It's a huge achievement. There was a time when Greenpeace food used to go anywhere when there is a industry being brought up. Greenpeace has been had to pack its bags and go off. There was a time when people had a different perception about NGOs, that the NGOs are the best thing in the world. Today we know what NGOs are. If not all, at least some of them, we know what they are. There was a time when nobody thought that Article 370 will be possible, abrogating it. Nobody thought Kashmir problem will ever be solved. It has been solved. But again, as you grow as a country, as an economy, you will face challenges and you have to deal with those things. I think the government is dealing, but it's also our responsibility where we take it forward from here. Right? We are the government. We all are part of the government. Every voter is part of the government. So where do we want to take it from here is the important part. And that's where we cannot just be mute spectator to what the government is doing. We have to actively work towards creating a better society where core ethos, cultures are respected, civilizational value systems, traditions of family are not thrown away, and at the same time, the external agenda of making people hate Sanatan goes. That's the more core thing. I think it's a war in progress, and we have to be part of that. Back to you. I think we can wrap it up now.
There's just one question, Patrick. So we can see that FCRA rules and these amendments, they are being checked. All these foreign contributions are being checked by them. But what about the role of MNCs, the global market forces, which operate here? And they do have their activities here in the form of charity, CSR, and other things where they shape up narratives, where they shape up policies here. So how do you think? Like we have Starbucks doing some campaigns, or we have even foreign universities being set up here, and few academicians were denied visa because of the anti-India activity, and a few of them have published here, but they were denied to come here because of their content. So all these activities are being propagated here, but through other channels. It's not directly the foreign contribution. How do you
So
think?
it's a very important question that you have asked. That has also mentioned in some of these reports the missionary MNC nexus. See, a lot of this has to do with, again, the urban Naxal agenda. And I keep on saying a lot has to be done with what is taught in the universities. The DEI agenda, diversity, equity, inclusion. Unless the DEI agenda is addressed, you will not be able to address the core issue of Naxalism. The DEI agenda is actually corroding our corporate sector, where in the name of diversity, you're actually even directly or indirectly promoting and supporting conversion. We all know what happened in the TCS case. And we all know how there was a kind of a tacit silence and a tacit approval to what was happening. Now, when the traditional ecosystem funded and backed by the urban Naxals actually promote and propagate that Sanatan is dirty, as some of the even political leaders have said in the recent past. Now, if that is what is being projected and propagated in some of the universities, especially in the humanities department, and those people then go and join the corporates, they actually practice the same thing that they have been taught. So they don't mind if a Hindu girl gets converted. Why is it? Where is the requirement for an LGBTQ week in the corporates? So the corporates understand the corporates, or probably whether you call it the deep state or whatever from the West, they don't want any country to have civilizational ethos, because the stronger the ethos, the more difficult it is to break individuals. Their objective is to break individuals, make them lonely. When they are lonely, they can be manipulated, reorient them towards consumerism by making them believe that they can be happy only when they shop. When they shop, they don't have money, make them get credit cards, then they're into a debt trap, then they're into all kind of stress, then they will be taking psychiatric medicines, then they will be this and that. So they will have all kinds of, throughout the life you are just a commodity in the hand of certain entities. You are just consuming. The society is very important, whether you talk about the Western agenda through missionaries or whatever else, or the corporates. I keep on saying that we talk about US is the biggest and the most powerful country, but in US the society has just been destroyed. There's no society. Kids at the age of 20 go to schools and shoot down 20 odd children. That's not a society. That's not a healthy society. So diversity, equity, inclusion may sound nice, but its ulterior objective is sinister, and we have to understand that. So missionary MNC nexus is there, and I think some regulations should come up on that aspect as well. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Patikrit ji. So I think we'll wrap it up.